We are going to go over a full back training routine. So we're going to focus on upper back and lats. Minimal equipment for this workout. So primarily if you got a bench and dumbbells, I'm going to show a variation of an assisted pull-up. If you've also got a cable pull-down setup, that will also work for this. But nothing that requires a ton of stuff. So we're going to start with a single arm row. So we're going to do a supported row setup. And what we want to get from this is we want to try to get the lat pretty short. So you're going to set up, put a bench up at roughly 60 degrees or so, get your forearm down here on the bench, and then you're going to stagger your stance with your head resting on this forearm. So what I want to try to do is just drive my hips back a little bit. This is going to help keep my spine straight. Okay, and I'm going to go through my row motion from here. My focus is on taking my elbow and drawing it into my hip, and drawing this elbow in as tight to my side as I can. Okay, so I don't want to pull up toward the ceiling. This is going to get me way too much trap, and it's going to encourage more upper back than lat. And when I pull, I don't want my elbow to flare away from my body. Okay, so I want to think, if I was standing, I'm thinking about taking this elbow towards this hip, and then actually almost trying to wrap it around to keep the tension in my lat. But the focus here is not on getting a big stretch, it's about getting a really big contraction. So once I'm set up, I check my feet. Set your feet just roughly straight ahead, knees, hips, and toes all facing straight forward. You see this bench that I'm using has wheels on it. These are roughly about hip distance apart. I'm gonna get the weight in my hands. As I row, I like to actually go from neutral to just a slight underhand rotation, and I draw this back, control the way down, but it's all about, I'm keeping my shoulder blade back, I'm not overextending. Okay, I don't want the stress to transfer from my lat to my upper back. I want to draw this back and control. Okay, so everything is just jamming right into that hip, trying to pack that lat down. Okay, and what we're gonna do a couple on the other side too, just so you can see the difference. Just because I don't want to walk out of here with only one lat getting trained. So elbow again, crank back. Doesn't look like the dumbbell is moving very far, because it's not, but it's moving in a direction that serves my lat, and that's all I really care about. Okay, you see how much control I've got over this thing. I'm not trying to use a ton of weight. But the way that I want to run this is you're going to do 1 or 2 warm-up sets, keep the reps a little higher, like a 10-12, and then I want you just to keep pyramiding up until you find a weight that's hard for 8. Okay, so you're not going to do 3 or 4 sets with the same weight. So for example, maybe I warm up with 25 for 10, 40 for 10, then I go 50, 60, 70, 80, tap out, and then that's the end of that exercise. All right, so that's exercise number 1. Okay, so for exercise number 2, the first exercise we did was all about getting the lat nice and short. This is gonna be all about getting the lat into a big stretch. So we're gonna use a pullover. What we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna do this with 2 dumbbells instead of 1. I got really turned on to using 2 dumbbells during a pullover after rehabbing from a shoulder surgery, just because it gives a little bit more freedom of movement, and it lets me adjust things to kind of really focus on my lats and not let my chest take over. So I bring both dumbbells up. I want to use either a neutral grip or slightly rotate my pinkies in to almost form a V. What I'm looking at is I want the tip of my elbow to point straight up toward the ceiling. Okay, so this is going to help me take my chest out of it. This is going to put me in just a little bit of external rotation at the shoulder. Okay, take my chest away. Let me just lengthen the lat as much as I can. So I'm going to lock my abs down so I'm not moving through my spine. I'm going to take both dumbbells, I'm going to drive them back, not like I'm reaching toward the floor, but like my goal is to touch the wall all the way at the back of the room. So I'm going to lengthen out, keep my elbows pointing straight up, arms are nearly straight, get the biceps right next to the ear, so full range of motion, and then pull right up over the chin. I'm trying to visualize closing the gap in my armpit on this and keeping that elbow pointed straight up. Okay, so abs stay locked down, deep breath in, extend this way back, pull right up over the chin. Okay, once the weights are over the chin, there's no benefit in going any higher, just because there's no more gravity on my lat. Okay, so we're drawing this up. All right, so your goal there is 4 rounds of about 10 to 12 reps. Find a weight that you can do for 12, as long as your reps aren't dropping under 10 as you fatigue a little bit. Losing a rep or 2 is not a big deal. All right, so that's exercise number 2. All right, so now we're gonna move on. So now we're on movement number 3. This is actually gonna be 2 movements back to back. Big focus here is we're moving the tension away from the lats and moving it up into the upper back. So rhomboids, lower traps, even a little bit of like our posterior delts. So our first movement's gonna be a wide grip pull-up, all right? So what I've done is I've set up a band assisted position. Now, some people will attach the band to the actual pull-up handle so they can step inside it that way. That's fine, but we're using racks that have a bunch of different JPEGs right here. You can even take a regular set of JPEGs, put them at about chest level in a squat rack, and just run the band across. The benefit to this sort of setup is that I don't have to stabilize as much. Okay, so this would be a little bit closer to like what a lat pull down is going to feel like. You're not going to have to worry about controlling your swinging. You can focus just on the contraction of your upper back. Now, before you do this, if you have issues with getting your thoracic spine to extend, I would highly recommend going through some sort of thoracic spine mobilization. I'll throw a warm-up routine down in the comments for you to try if you have issues here, because one of the keys is we want to be able to drive our chest up to position our upper chest directly underneath the bar. Our intention is not going to be to worry about the lats, but we want to actually pull the elbows down to contract the shoulder blades down and back with a wide grip. So ideally, my forearm is going to stay roughly straight up and down to the floor, but I'm going to extend into it, so the path of that arm is going to go right here with, again, more focus on the upper back and not so much on the lats. And then we're going to pair it with a second exercise that's going to continue to tackle the upper back, but from a different angle. So we'll jump up in here. So I'm taking an overhand grip. I want something that is a little bit wider than my shoulders so that my elbow is always inside my hand. I want to think down and back with the movement. If you grab too wide, you can't really get that going. So I want a little bit of a wider hand position. I'm going to step inside my band. I'll bring myself out of the bar. So again, I want to drive my chest up. I want a little bit of extension in my thoracic spine here. Trying to pull my chest to the underside of the bar and driving my elbows down and back with a focus on pinching my shoulder blades together. My goal is going to be 10 reps here. Okay, exhale, big contraction. Don't rush this. Focus on your contraction on this and the exercise that's about to follow. All right, so goal is 10. I'm not going to do 10. But your goal is, again, keep that angle, driving the chest into the underside of the bar. If you feel yourself start to shift into this position, you're going to lose all your upper back. It's all going to dump into your biceps. It's going to be completely pointless. So at that point, drop the weight, stop the set, whatever you need to do. Second exercise is called a Superman row. All right, so this is going to put me down here on the floor. Don't need weight for this. This is going to put kind of a different angle on my upper back. This was more of a vertical challenge. What I'm going to get here is I'm going to do almost the same motion, but laying flat down on the floor. So when I'm flat down on the floor, the stress is more about kind of pulling my shoulder blades apart front to back, so this direction, instead of more of a vertical pull angle. This is also going to blend in some posterior delts and external rotators from your rotator cuff. So we're getting some shoulder support here, but still a big emphasis on our upper back. So I'm just going to lay out on the ground. My hands are extended out in front of me. I'm going to keep my chest on the floor. I'm going to elevate my arms all the way up. Pull my elbows back. I want to visualize trying to touch my elbows together in the center of my back. And I want to try to keep my fist off the ground as far as I can. So I want to try not to be in this position, but I want to try to drop my elbows, raise my fists, and pull back in this position. Extend it out. Put my hands on the floor. Okay, so we're going to go up. Pinch the shoulders.
extend out, down, raise up, pinch the shoulders, super slow, super controlled the whole way through, up, back. Okay, goal here is going to be around 10 reps. Now, depending on what your strength is, you might not be able to get all 10, especially if you're just not used to tackling from that angle. Just do as many reps as you can. Okay, so goal with the pull-up, we're going to go 10 reps. We're going to do 3 sets. Immediately coming into this, you'll basically take this to failure. If you can hit 10 reps, then if you need to make it a little tougher, you could add some super, super light weight to your hands. A pair of 2.5-pound plates would probably be plenty, but for a lot of people, even at this point in the workout, it's probably not going to be necessary. So that's our 3rd setup. We got one more thing to go. All right, so last part of this workout, the last thing that we did for our upper back was all about getting the upper back muscles, rhomboids, lower traps into a short position. So now we're going to put everything into more of a stretch, work full range of motion, really foster getting the shoulder blade to open up and stretch what's going on in between. So this is called a Powell Raise. So this is done one arm at a time. You're going to find a bench, you're going to lie on your side. I'm not using a huge weight, I'm going to demo this with an 8. Most people probably 8, 10, 12, maybe 15 if you're super strong, but it does not need to be a super heavy weight, especially if you've never done it before. So I'm lying on my side. My armpit is right up here in the edge of the bench. I'm going to drop this hand down on the ground just to create some stability, but my goal is not to prop myself up. I want to come off the side from head all the way down to hips. I got a straight line. I'm going to take the dumbbell. My focus here is on moving through my shoulder blades as I go through this motion. So I want to really open this up, and then I'm going to draw weight up over my head and try to retract my shoulder blade right here. Arm's going to be right out in front of my face. Okay, so not down by my chest, not up over my head, right in front of my face, and it stops at face level, so I don't need to come all the way down here. I'm going to stop right here. It's not about dropping down this way. I want to extend the weight out in front of me this way as far as I can. So I extend out to get in my starting position, heads off the side. I'm going to come all the way up in an arc, pull my shoulder blade back. Then as I come down, I visualize like I'm going to reach for the wall in front of me, really open up and extend. See, there's no twisting in my shoulder, in my body at all. It's all coming through my shoulder. I pull back, slowly extend down. Let that shoulder blade open up. It ends up right over my ear, and I'm really focusing on the retraction there. Okay, and then I come down. So we're going to go with just 3 sets, and we're going to go 10 to 12 reps on this. Really get that to open up. Again, super slow, super controlled, just like you see me doing. If you feel the weight's dropping too low, or if you feel yourself starting to turn into it, if you can't control that part of the movement, then you got to stop, because all you're doing is you're moving the stress to the wrong muscles and you're just building bad habits. So that's the very last of our exercises. So super complete back workout. We got a lengthened and short position for the lats and lengthened and short position for the upper back muscles. Whole thing probably will take you about 45-50 minutes from start to finish. Give it a shot and let me know what you think.